So here's the newly launched MyFitSpark dashcam DC-102 Pro. So this is the update, or should I say the upgrade to the previous model, the DC-101, wherein the previous model gave you a 2K resolution. This gets you a real 2.7K resolution with HDR along with GPS. So you have a picture of the front camera. We will be diving into take a look at this form factor pretty soon. So at the bottom they have mentioned that this gets a 5 megapixel Sony Starvis IMX335 sensor, gets Pro ADAS features. Now we've seen in the previous model how accurate and how reliable the ADAS in Fitspark really works out, and they've upgraded the display from about 2.7 inch in the previous model to 3.16 inch IPS display with true colors. So they have highlighted some other features as well. This gets the Novatec AI chipset. This gets an ultra wide lens, basically 130-degree field of view for the front. This gets a 3.16-inch IPS display, gets GPS built in, gets 24-hour parking monitoring along with app control. At the bottom of the box, they have highlighted the feature that this gets nocturnal night vision. So let's quickly open up the box and take a look at its contents. You get a user manual of the dash camera giving you all the technical specifications of this dash cam. You also get QR codes for both Apple App Store and Google Play Store. And just in case any of you is interested in taking a look at the specifications of this camera, here's a zoomed in picture. You can just pause the video and take a look at all the detailed specifications of the DC-102. So here's a newly designed, super fine finished and very premium looking Fitspark DC-102. You get this Pro ADAS logo at front, you get this MyFitSpark branding at the front, and they've also mentioned that this gets 5 megapixels real 2.7K, and this gets a f1.68 element lens. So the design of the dash cam is like very attractive. It has this symmetrical pattern with the lens module right in the middle. Now in most dash cams the lens module is usually placed at the right or the left, but I think Fitspark has really done a good job by placing it at the center, giving it a more symmetrical approach. I also like this matte black finish at the front, gives it a very strong appeal. At the back, you get a 3.16-inch IPS display. Now, in order to control the dashcam, you get control buttons right at the bottom, and you also get the corresponding logos right below the display so you can recognize which button you're pressing. You also get ventilation holes at the bottom. You get a mic at the bottom. On one side, here is the memory card slot along with the reset slot. So a super premium looking, a super smart looking DC-102 Pro. I'm completely impressed with the design concept of this dash camera. So here's the capsule shaped rear camera, quite similar to the previous model's rear camera. You also get this MyFitSpark branding right at the back. You get this windshield mount, and the camera is tiltable up and down. You get a Type-C port with a dedicated notch for it. On the other side, there's nothing else. You get to shoot 1080p 30 fps using this rear camera. So this combination of front and rear camera looks very premium, looks very polished. It'll be interesting to see the kind of performance Fitspark has now included in its front camera since it gets a IMX335 sensor now. You also get a dedicated accessories box right inside. So the first thing which you get in the accessory box is the main USB power cable, which gets a L-shaped Type-C connector at one end, and you get a pre-attached 12-volt car charger with LED indicators but no USB port. So here's the rear camera cable, which gets two Type-C ports, one with a straight connector which plugs in into the rear camera. Another is the L-shaped connector which plugs in into the main front camera. You also get wiring clips and two additional 3M stickers, one for the front and one for the rear. And finally, you have this windshield mount which gets alignment pins right here at the bottom. It also gets a ball joint for adaptive tiltable movement. You also get this broad and big sticker right at top, which is kind of necessary to hold this dash cam stable. And of course, all you need to do to make the windshield mount adapt onto the dash cam is just align these pins and press the mount, and basically you're done. So the good thing is, since this is a ball joint mount and this can be adapted to those cars which have a flat or a vertical windshield, and of course because of this mount design you can tilt the camera up and down and adjust the camera angle accordingly. And in case if you just need to remove the dash cam from the windshield mount, you have this sloping design right here. All you need to do is just push this and the dash cam easily comes out of the windshield mount. So a very smart, premium and a very polished look for the Fitspark DC-102. So I'm really excited to take a look at the video quality from this camera and see how this turns out. Alright, so this is the main screen of the Fitspark DC-102 Pro Plus, and I've currently mounted it on my windshield. So you get this front camera view with a large display covering almost the entire screen, with the rear camera showing up as a picture-in-picture mode. So you get the control buttons at the bottom with the corresponding indications right here below the screen, indicating what that particular button stands for. Let's straight up head into the settings of the camera. So first of all, you have this resolution option, and within which you get a 2.7K resolution for the front with 30 fps and a full HD 30 fps for the rear. Then you have this quad HD for the front with 30 fps along with full HD for the rear along with 30 fps, or you can convert both cameras into a full HD resolution with 30 fps of frame rate. Heading back, you get a loop recording option within which you get a minimum file size duration of 1 minute, then you have 2 minutes, 3 minutes and a maximum duration of 5 minutes. Following that, you have the display mode wherein you can select the particular camera which you want to stream on the screen, either the front or the rear overlaid, basically what we saw previously, wherein the rear camera comes in a picture-in-picture mode. Then you have the rear mirror display, so you can mirror the rear camera if you have installed the camera incorrectly, or if you want a mirrored view, you can turn it off or on. Then you have the exposure value, within which you can increase or decrease the exposure based on your requirement. Then you have the HDR option, you can select it to off or on. Then you have the ADAS option. So within ADAS you get 4 different options. That's the lane departure warning, then you have the forward collision warning, then you have stop and go, and then you have pedestrian collision warning. So we saw the same 4 ADAS options within the previous model as well. That's the Fitspark DC-101. So they have continued the same options within this camera, and you can use these for your convenience. Heading back, you get the ADAS calibration option. So you need to align with the horizon and align the vertical line with the middle of the front of the car. So when I take out the car out on a drive, I'll be able to calibrate it. But basically it's a simple step and you can do it very easily. And then you have the parking mode option. So in order to access this particular option, you need to make sure that you have connected dash cam with the hardware kit. And if you do enter the parking mode, you have the option to turn off the parking mode, or you can select motion detection, or you have a time-lapse 1 fps mode and a time-lapse 2 fps mode, along with a time-lapse 5 fps and a 10 fps mode. So I think this is one of the first dash cams within this budget range that gives you such a high level of customizable options in terms of parking mode, and this is probably the only dash cam which gives you even motion detection within this budget range. And of course, most other dash cams have a fixed frame rate in terms of time lapse, but Fitspark DC-102 is probably the only one which gives you like 1 fps, 2 fps, 5 fps and a 10 fps option, and also gives you the option to turn it off entirely. So that's a good thing enabled by Fitspark, and I really appreciate that. Heading back, you have the G sensor option. You can set the sensitivity to off, or you can set it to low, medium or high. Then you have the date stamp, you can set it to off or on. Then you have the record audio option, basically the mic option, you can set it to off or on. Then you have the screen saver option, you can set it to off, basically the screen will always be on, or you can set it to 1 or 3 minutes, after which the screensaver will take over. Then you have the date and time, you have the time zone with which you have to select the particular timeline according to your geographical location. Then you have the speed unit, kilometers per hour or miles per hour. Then you have the language option, and then you have the beep sound. You can turn off this beep sound if you don't want to listen to that. Then you have the frequency 50 Hz and 60 Hz. Then you have the GPS status. You can see the signal status of the GPS satellites. And then you have the format option wherein all data will be deleted. Then you have the format warning. So you can set it to off, or you can set it to 15, 30 or even up to 60 days. That's about 2 months. Then you have the default factory setting option. Following that, you have the version option wherein it gives you particular model and the build number. And that's it. These were the on-screen settings for the Fitspark DC-102 Pro Plus. So here's a quick look at the ADAS features of the DC-102 Pro. First of all, with the pedestrian alert warning. So when the camera detects that my car is approaching a person, or should I say a two-wheeler person, this is the warning it gets.
Pedestrian.
So it's a very quick warning, it's a very efficient warning, and more importantly, this is a very accurate warning. So we tend to sometimes miss out the two-wheelers which are very near to the car, and the DC-102 backed with its pedestrian alert warning will be a super helpful feature. Quickly taking a look at the next ADAS feature. Front car collision. So as you just saw, when my car was approaching the goods auto rickshaw which was going right in front of my car, so the camera gave out a front car collision alert so that I keep my distance from the front vehicle and I don't get too close with it. So this is the second ADAS feature of this camera. So moving on to the next ADAS feature, just take a look. Lane departure. So as soon as I intentionally tried to leave the lane, the camera gave me a lane departure alert warning. And this is important because sometimes while driving on the highway, it's possible that we may shift lanes unknowingly, and this camera will detect that and give you the lane departure alert warning. Following this, here's the next feature wherein I've stopped my car at a signal, and as soon as we get a green signal and the car in front moves, front car go, you get a front car go alert warning alerting you that the car in front is now moving away so that you are not stationary and don't cause a traffic jam. So this is also very important because we do tend to lose our attention towards the traffic signal once in a while, and this front car go alert warning is specifically present to help you in that specific situation. Moving on to take a look at the front camera quality. So this shoots a 2560 into 1600p resolution at 30 fps, gets a super good bitrate of about 15,000 kbps and a file size of 330 MB per minute. Now this video is shot with a backing of the Starvis IMX335 sensor with a field of view of 130 degrees. And as you can see, the video is quite flawless. I mean, for the price you're paying for this camera, this is arguably the best video quality you can get within that price range. The saturation, the contrast looks very punchy. I mean, even though it was overcast conditions, you can see that the video is quite well lit up, looks extremely natural, and even the sharpness and the brightness levels are very well balanced. So this is one of the finest front camera footages you can get within this budget range, and the DC-102 Pro backed with the Starvis IMX335 does not disappoint in terms of its front camera video quality during daytime. So moving on to the nighttime video quality, the contrast and shadows are looking very accurate. The headlights from the opposite sides are not creating that blobby effect. They are well compensated in terms of their exposure, and the Starvis IMX335 is showing its capability here even though it's a previous gen sensor. So in terms of the well lit area right in the middle of the screen, that's courtesy due to the headlights, the image quality is quite good. Rest of the area surrounding the headlight looks darker, and that's quite normal. So even in terms of number plate readability, as you're seeing right now, I just flipped to the high beam and the number plate read was still readable, still quite good, nothing visibly wrong in that. So the overall video quality during nighttime also looks quite good and more than enough for the price of this camera. So both day and nighttime videos are looking very good, and I think the DC-102 Pro is a real winner within its budget range in terms of its front camera video quality. Moving on to the rear camera sample, so this is during daytime and this shoots a full HD resolution at 30 fps with a close to 10,000 kbps of bitrate, a marginally higher 200 MB per minute of file size, and this shoots in a 120-degree field of view. So you can be assured that this covers most of the area right behind the car. Any approaching vehicle will definitely be covered in its video sample. So when you compare it, or when you think about the front camera video sample, this falls short a bit because I do think this looks a bit darker in terms of the contrast, in terms of the exposure, kind of needs a bit more punchy effect, but more or less this is a rear camera and it's serving its purpose well. So in terms of the overall video quality, the rear camera is performing as expected, nothing extraordinary in this, and you can simply go ahead with this rear camera sample during daytime, and I probably think the number plate readability will be good at a very close range of maybe about 5 to 10 feet. Moving on to the nighttime quality, so this will give you a headlight blobbing effect right in the middle of the screen. This is kind of characteristic within all dash cameras within this budget range, and that's quite normal. So you do tend to have this high glare in the middle of the screen if any vehicles are approaching towards the camera or towards your vehicle. The rest of the area looks quite decent. considerably well lit compared to the front camera. Of course, the front camera gets a better sensor, so logically it has better video quality. So the rear camera, when the vehicles are in very close range, loses out that blobbing effect and you get a proper compensation for the exposure. But if the vehicles are a bit farther away from the camera, you have this white glare in the middle of the screen. But the thing to note is that you don't get such high level of white streaks which we usually see in most of the cameras. The streaks are missing out, but the rest of the quality is quite decent. So here's the number plate readability from the front camera at a quite close range, maybe 10 to 15 feet away, and quite a decent and a readable number plate read. So you can be assured that you will catch number plates at a distance of 10 to 15 feet with the front camera. During nighttime, this would be the number plate read. So no matter what you have put, either your low beam or a high beam, you can be assured that if the vehicle is close enough, the camera will be able to capture number plates even during nighttime. So looking at all the important features of this camera, including the build quality, the kind of video quality this camera provides, and a very nice number plate readability, and along with that, the most unique thing about this camera is that the most advanced ADAS features are provided within the 10,000 price segment. So basically this camera is a total value for money camera if you are considering to buy a dash cam within the 10,000 segment. And in the ongoing Amazon sale, the camera is getting a 2,000 rupee discount. You can buy this camera now at close to 8,000 rupees. So if you don't want to miss this chance, this is your perfect opportunity. Go ahead, click down on the description. You'll find the purchase link right there. Click on the link and buy this dash cam for yourself. If you do have any doubts or queries regarding this camera, just write that down in the comments. I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. And if this video has helped you out in making the correct purchase decision and providing you the critical information needed to decide if this camera is for you, well, go ahead, hit that subscribe button of my channel right now, smash that like button and share this video with all your friends who are expecting to see a very fine review of the Fitspark DC-102. See you in the next one.